Hi guys, welcome to the Reverse Sweep podcast. We are back again, episode number 25. First of all, we are so thankful to all of you कि we've been able to do 25 of these and please continue supporting us. We hope कि all of you are safe. आप लोग इस tough times से deal कर रहे हैं and you're safe wherever you are and you stay at home. And what we are going to do today, we've got Siddharth all the way from Canada. We've got Siddharth Jain all
All
the
the
way
way
from,
from London.
and we've got Piyush all the way from Raipur today with us. And what we're going to do is, so we did this revisit of the 2019 ODI World Cup in the last episode, and we're going to do a revisit of the 2016 T20 World Cup in this episode. But since that World Cup is slightly old and not that relevant now, we are going to link it to what our preparations are for the 2020 World Cup that is going to happen now in the UAE, most likely. And so, yeah, that's what we're going to discuss. Do you guys want to say anything before we start?
Just one thing that hopefully we give captaincy to Rohit Sharma before boarding that flight to UAE if that is happening.
Hopefully for
Okay.
2022.
Okay. Chalo, let's start then. So we'll start with how the tournament progressed. Our first game was at Nagpur. We played against New Zealand. We were bowling first, and all of us felt ki, wow, this is going to be a domination because we got them all out for we restricted them to some 120, 130 score. And it felt like, okay, this is going to be a walk in the park. And then we made 79 all out. We collapsed in front of their spin. Ish Sodhi, I think Santner. So that's how we started. So collapses have been something that we've seen. I mean, and poor starts is something that has become a feature of the Indian team of late. So let's start with that game. I mean, obviously it was a rank turner kind of a wicket, but how can we prevent those kind of collapses or those kind of easy chases? Who do we need in our T20 side for that? We'll start with Piyush.
I think it was one of those rare matches where our batting collapsed and none
भाई
of
वन
the
ऑफ दोस
batters.
रेयर हर टूर्नामेंट में होते हैं
हर टूर्नामेंट
चलता है
में
होगा,
होता
पर
है।
मेरे को लगता है ऐसे भी नागपुर वेन्यू इज चेंज. मतलब इंडिया में कभी भी वर्ल्ड कप हो तो नागपुर में मैच कराने का ही नहीं. मतलब वी हैव लॉस्ट, like we lost against
Yeah,
South
we
Africa.
collapsed the same at Edgbaston, and where was the semi-final in 2019?
No,
We
but the
collapsed
thing
the
is, I
same
think
way.
that venue
It's
is
not
changed
Nagpur.
in World Cup. But that venue is changed. We lost when Sachin scored century against South Africa
South
in
Africa 298 chase.
We lost in that World
then
Cup.
we again lost in 2016 at Nagpur. So that happened. It was an opener and no one expected it. But those are the things that keeps on happening. But the thing is, in the T20 new format, so every group games become very important. And you know how India eventually made it out. It was like 3 back-to-back knockout games for India, but eventually we did win all of those and we somehow managed to qualify. But
Yeah,
the thing is, T20 we should be little. We should not rely on losing first match because it is not. You don't have like 8 or 9 games to qualify like the normal 50 over World Cup. But I think that one of things happen, and the thing is we have a fairly decent squad, and India have understood now the dynamics of T20 hopefully, and they do not stick to their old resume of trying out players who don't work, and they have a proper plan as how England, how Australia, and every country has a separate plan for T20 and how they approach, which we haven't seen after 2007. Like 2007, which we won, we had a fairly new young team who thought were good in T20. We hadn't played any, but still we didn't have the senior players who are not ready to play T20. And that is the mistake that India has been doing ever since after that winning the World Cup of 2007. Is they are not much focused on T20 World Cup, and we have seen it time and time again that we don't have proper players who can do well at T20 level. Like we are giving chances to players who are good in 50 over or Test cricket in T20s, but the new modern day T20 game doesn't work like that. So we need to have T20 specialists in there who are specialists in T20 format. So, but with IPL and how BCCI
Do you
have
think
progressed.
our current T20 11 with the same kind of wicket, the same kind of bowling attack, the same kind of situation, and 79 all out nahi hota? I mean, it's pretty much similar if you look at our current
But
team, the core.
a lot of our current team have played at Chipok in the IPL, right? So I think they have sort of like experience. Rohit Sharma did exceedingly well at Chipok, although some of the others did not. But I think like now that we have very recent IPL experience at those kind of tracks, and like somebody like Rohit Sharma has done well, somebody like Dhawan saw through a 130 chase against Mumbai, one of the best bowling attacks. So I think those kind of guys have the experience now. Use track pay, one or two guys can see the innings through, then play those kind of shots that we played against New Zealand.
So I think that
Interesting.
in 2016, guys like Rohit, Hardik, they won the senior guys in the squad, right? The senior guys in the squad were Yuvraj, Raina, Dhoni. So like now compared to a current team, I think these guys, Rohit, Hardik, Dhawan, they are the senior guys, so they take more responsibility as a side, I think. And with responsibility, obviously, I think they enjoy the pressure. I think these guys, I think very few cricketers actually enjoy the pressure, and I feel like Hardik, Rohit are like two of the guys who like enjoy having pressure on them and actually succeed in those situations. So I think now that they're senior players, they take the responsibility on the shoulders. I think they're much better players, especially of spin.
Even Dhawan is a very different player to what he was in 2016. He's like
But Dhawan
shown
is
that
not going to play T20. He's been our best player in the IPL, obviously, but he's
I would
probably
hope
not going
so.
to
He
make
does,
it.
given his form. But like, yeah, like he has shown that he's grown leaps and bounds. Even if KL Rahul plays instead, he has shown that like he is capable of anchoring chaser. At least he might not have shown that he's capable of doing more, but he's capable of
Interesting.
batting through most of the overs that he can. So I think in those kind of chases now we're more well settled, and maybe introducing somebody like Surya Kumar Yadav could give us a little bit of impetus in the middle orders that, like the New Zealand way that they showed at the 2015 World Cup, that even if it's a small chase, you just get so far ahead of the chase that even if you have a collapse, you easily chase it. So somebody like Surya Kumar Yadav who doesn't risk, like who doesn't get bogged down by conditions that much, I think could provide the X factor, or somebody like Rishabh Pant
Yes.
could
Interesting.
provide the X
Our
factor.
openers are going to be Kohli and Rohit mostly. I mean, even I don't think KL Rahul also makes it. It's that situation.
I eventually think Kohli is going to drop himself to number 3, given the options that we have opening. Be it Rohit, be it Ishan Kishan, who did well in the last T20 series at least, opening for India, or be it Dhawan. I think Kohli will realize that we have too many options to open and drop himself
But
down, given his less than ideal
but
form.
the only problem with having Kohli at 3 is you have to demote Surya to 4, and
That's
then
Or
fine.
not play him.
the yeah. So the
Again,
lady
that's the best we can do right now, I
no,
think,
but the thing is, I think
other
we
than
have
dropping
more.
Kohli completely.
Yeah, but I think we have more
Not
flexibility. And one more thing, like what I want to add is what has improved from 2016 is now we have likes of Hardik Pandya, Rishabh Pant, Jadeja in that matter of fact of how he was with the bat in 2016,
Yeah,
and now
Jadeja is
he's
also
with.
a completely different guy.
Yeah, so the thing is now we have those players who can change the game out of anywhere and anything, and we have more reliable batting order than what we had in 2016. And now we have those people who can play those kind of innings which are required at a T20 level of coming in 10 ball 30, 10 ball 25. Like you
Yeah.
give them out to Hardik Pandya, Rishabh Pant, Jadeja, those three can change the game on their own any day. So I think now
Definitely.
we have good core of players who are more suited to the shorter format of the game, and that is
Yeah.
what is the key difference. What I'm seeing from 2016 to 2020, we had someone like Rahane playing in 2016, which is absurd. Like Rahane cannot play T20.
It feels
Whatever
absurd
happens.
now. It didn't feel that absurd at that time. Anyway, one I think big difference is that probably our reliance on Virat Kohli has gone down
Yeah.
compared to 2016. 2016 it was literally Kohli or bust. That was the situation almost. We won when
Even
he did
Kohli
well.
and bust in the semi-final.
Yeah,
We won
that
when he
happened
did
in
well.
semi-final, yeah.
Yeah,
And
when he
Australia
did.
game also.
Yeah, Australia game, even the Pakistan game that we're going to talk about now.
Australia one was Kohli performed and we still bust.
West Indies. Anyway, let's. The next game is the game that we had with Pakistan. It happened in Kolkata. Again, the bowling attack did well. We restricted them, and it was. It looked like it could have been a Mohammad Amir special, but it didn't. Virat Kohli steadied the chase. I think got a 50, which he later said was one of his best innings. He got a 55 of 37 after we had lost both Rohit and Dhawan early on. Rohit, Dhawan and Raina early on, to be honest. Then Yuvraj and Dhoni finished it off with Kohli. So what I'm going to touch upon next is our bowling. So our bowling has changed a lot from 2016 to what is going to be in the 2020 World Cup. Have we improved? Straightforward question. We had
Absolutely.
I'll tell who our bowling was. We had Nehra, who was, I mean, Nehra now feels very old, but who was in the peak because he was playing IPL at that time, doing really well for
purple cap, I think, in 2015.
Exactly. So he was doing really well for Chennai Super Kings. We had Ashwin again was very good, economical. We had Bumrah, who had just come to the fore. Everyone was in awe of how well he was, how well he was bowling. We had Jadeja, and then Raina and Hardik used to make up the remaining overs. So that was the attack that we had at that time. Versus what we have right now would be Bumrah, Shami, I don't know, Chahal maybe, or
Bhuvi, Natarajan,
Bhuvi is obviously Chahal,
Varun Chakravarti perhaps, and Jadeja
Rahul
Hardik making the fifth
Rahul
over.
Chahar maybe, and in the fast bowling backup maybe Shardul, Deepak Chahar, or those kind of guys. Are we better?
So, absolutely, like 100%. So that is one of the major thing as well. So I don't remember all the matches, but we look more comfortable chasing the games rather than defending the game. So that is not the case anymore, I believe. I think our bowling attack is now much better, and it hardly matters if you are batting first or batting second, because we look more of a balanced side. In 2016, what I believe, we were more focused on winning games by batting, and we didn't have bowlers at that time that who can defend on a like grounds like Wankhede or Chinnaswamy. In that fact, we did defend in Chinnaswamy eventually. We will talk about that historic game, but the thing is,
that's next.
Bumrah was very new to the scene, and we didn't have any good dead bowlers who can defend. But now we have likes of Natarajan, Bumrah, who is at his peak, like who has
I think that was
100 times.
Even Shami bowled a super over with 6 Yorkers in a row to defend 5 runs against Mumbai Indians last year.
Yes.
So he's also a much better T20 bowler than he was at that point of time.
One big difference that we have is death bowling for sure. I feel our core first power play and even 10 over bowling was slightly better at that time. That's my personal opinion. But our death bowling is way better. I think
Nehra was very good at that time. Bumrah probably has evolved much more, and I think that makes up the difference alone. And then spinners I think probably have declined because our spinners are really not in form currently. Like other than Rahul Chahar, who only performed pretty much at Chepauk, which is, if you don't perform as a spinner there, then there's something wrong with you. So I think
he was good in Delhi as well, both matches.
Yeah, Delhi bhi वैसे ही track होता other time. So I think our spinners form was concerning. I think like Varun Chakravarti had a couple of good games, had a couple of bad games. Then Chahal has been really poor. Kuldeep Yadav is not even in the frame of things for his IPL side. So I think spinners, Ashwin and Jadeja were definitely, like, even in limited overs, they were near the top of the world at the time. So I think spinners, like, that strength has definitely declined, that we're not even sure who our spinners are going to be this World Cup. And at that time, Jadeja and Ashwin would have gotten into any side in the world, be it in T20, be it in one day.
I think our pace battery obviously is better now. But
pace battery is definitely better. I think spin and that middle over that we had
spin and the fifth bowler both.
Kuldeep is
the fact that
At fifth bowler, yeah, with Hardik not bowling very frequently, at that time he was obviously bowling 4 overs regularly. So I think that has also clearly
Yeah, I don't
declined.
think
But
Hardik is going to contribute much with the bowl. I get that feeling.
yeah, I think we're
So-
looking at him as a specialist number 6 who can bowl if required. But yeah, we can't rely on him given his fitness.
Yeah, so
I
fifth
think the
bowler
best
is
period
going
over
to
that 2000,
Siddharth.
2000, that 2014 or 16 period was that we had like 6-7 bowlers, and I like the way
Yeah,
that Dhoni used to use Raina. एक दो over ही डालता था, but he used to like either control runs or take a wicket for sure. And I
yeah.
think that's what Kohli's team does not have. Like obviously they have tried Washington Sundar, but I do not think that like if you play him, like he's a very bowler kind of all rounder. He's not a
Yeah,
batting all
he's
rounder.
not a T20
Like
batsman. He's
he,
done
he
well in
cannot
Test.
finish
He's
a
not a
game.
T20
Yeah, and then I don't think they've tried Akshar Patel much. Obviously, he had like good stint with Delhi Capitals. Obviously, I think he hit like last season he was good in UAE as a batsman.
season
But
as
like I
well,
don't think
couple
that
of games.
yeah, I don't think they'll
Couple
take
of
that
games.
risk. So that's what Kohli's team does not have. What I've noticed is Kohli's team tends to go with only 5 bowlers, right? And I think in
Yeah.
2021 the game has changed so much. Like in 2016, 170 used to be considered a good score, right? 170 was defendable, but in 2000, like in today's game, like you need 190, 200 to be confident. Like even then, it's kind of scary, right? So I think
Yeah.
I wouldn't say our bowling has improved a lot because I think Mehra was like not at his peak, but he was a good bowler. Then he was still reliable. I feel Bumrah
Yeah.
obviously early days, but obviously Bumrah was sensation back then.
Mm.
But yeah, I feel that Hardik, Raina being the extra bowlers helped the team a lot. And in this current team, I just don't see from where do we get a sixth
Exactly.
bowler.
Even
Like
Kohli used to bowl back then. Kohli bowled the
exactly.
last over in the semi-final for us and took a crucial wicket before this in the semi-final as well.
Yeah, I
Like
think
earlier, Rohit used to bowl, Kohli used
Yeah.
to bowl. Now none of the top 6 really bowl
Yeah. And the fact that
too much.
it's concerning that we don't know our spinners, right? Like
Yeah,
I know Rahul Chair is good, and I'm not doubting Rahul Chair and Varun
Chepa
Chakravarti's
Kohli.
skills, but I'm just saying that
Yeah, that's
sending them straight to a World Cup and expecting them to perform
they're
like
untested
it's
at the international level.
exactly that's what I'm saying. Like I feel in 2016 we had a more balanced squad as in terms of experience, in terms of how the squad gelled together. But now there's just uncertainty from like
No,
who
but that is what is
Hmm,
happened
yes.
with evolution of IPL. So you can't really take out people on basis of lack of experience because these people have played with the best of people out there against the best of players out there. So that is what IPL has helped with. Like if you put a young player straight away to the international scene, like you put Ishan Kishan recently, it's not a World Cup scene. I get that pressure of World Cup, but the thing is, these players are used to that pressure more than what they were at that time. Now so they are used to having or defending like a 200 score or a 210 score or a defending 130 score as well. So these people have played all type of games under all type of circumstances as well. So I think that shouldn't be a problem, and I don't feel uh, there should be a problem with the spin line. I think Rahul Char makes the cut depending on how poor Chahal and Kuldeep have been recently and how good Rahul Char has been. And then I don't think so Varun Chakravarti is going because of his fitness issue. But I'm pretty much impressed with how Akshar Patel has done. So if you're firing up another spinner or a
But
spinner
Akshar
who
and
can
Jadeja both in the same team.
yeah,
But
I
not,
the
think
not in the
fact
same
like
team, as a backup, as a backup,
Mm.
as a backup.
Mm.
Not
But
in
the
the
fact
playing
even let's
11.
focus on like left hand, right hand, off spin, slow left arm, off spin combinations. I think like even Chahar with Jadeja might be a worry because both of them are a risk against left hand batsmen, and so much so that Mumbai Indians dropped Chahar in the IPL final last year because of that Delhi had so many left hand batsmen in their
Jayant
team.
Yadav, yeah.
Yeah, Jayant Yadav played. You don't drop like top class. Like we've seen a lot of teams make matchup based changes like that, but you don't drop bona fide world class spinners because of that. That
Yeah, I think the
there's
only
too many
point with
left-handers. You don't drop
Chahar is
players like
untested.
that.
Yeah.
So if Chahar, like even by somebody like Mumbai Indians, is a kind of player that can be dropped for somebody who's hardly played a game all IPL in the IPL final, the most important game of them all, that doesn't bring a lot of confidence in me, especially when Jadeja is already a slow left armer who takes the ball away from the right hand batsman.
Also, I was surprised that at the end of IPL, Kohli RCB dropped Washington Sundar, right? And obviously he was in the T20 India squad, and now seeing Akshar
Kohli
Patel do
dropping
well,
anybody is not surprising.
and now Akshar Patel did well for Delhi, and then I think Washington is going to England as well, right, for the Test series.
Yeah.
So, like, suppose let's say in Sri Lanka, let's say Krunal does well, right, or let's say XYZ, someone does well. I think there's pressure on Washington. Will he make the 16-man squad in the first place, right? Because even he was in the starting
good
lineup, but I
point.
just don't think he has had enough of an
I
impact.
think we need an off spinner, but yeah, like Washington Sundar did not even bowl 4 overs regularly for RCB
Exactly.
this
And it
IPL.
doesn't spin the ball much anyway. I don't think he can rely on
And
him
he
as a frontline spinner. Anyway,
and his
I think
batting has been below par as well. Like his batting was supposed to be an idea, but yeah.
yeah. Anyway, moving on. Next is India's journey then went to Bengaluru in a historic game. I think both me and Piyush were there at the stadium at that time. So India labored to 146. We had run a ball 20s across the team. No one really took the initiative. And then what happened was stuff of legends. Hardik Pandya bowling the last over, Mushfiqur getting a boundary, celebrating, and
Getting
then
another boundary, I think, before he went
and
out.
then tonking one up. Dhawan took a catch. Then the next batsman, I think it was Mahmudullah who came in. First ball tries to go after. Dhoni had switched Dhawan away. Jadeja had now gone to that position. He took a stunning catch. And then once that happened, pressure got to Bangladesh. It came down to a run, 2 runs of the last ball. Dhoni once again, like he usually does, took his glove off and got the ball, didn't throw, ran a sprint and ran out the Bangladeshi batsman, which meant that India won by 1 run. I absolutely remember the scenes. It was crazy at that stadium. I mean, I think for 30 minutes or more, it was people celebrating just. And so we'll start with Siddharth. First, let's talk about that, and then we'll move on to more things about the 2016 World Cup.
Which Siddharth? There's two.
What?
Which Siddharth? There's two Siddharth.
You, brother.
Okay, yeah. So as far as I remember, I think that match showed the inexperience of Bangladesh at the top level and showed that even if they have talented players like Mushfiq or Shakib, that they always have that small time mentality. Like some teams always have that small time mentality, such as like in football we see clubs like Spurs celebrate finishing above Arsenal as like a moment they need to make a DVD about. Like Bangladesh, like when they needed two of two of three balls, they still decided to take two glory shots, and that just shows how small time their mentality is. That they want to finish it off in style. That they think every match is like 2011 World Cup final that will finish it off with a six. Sometimes you just need a mature head to just knock the ball around and
There
take a
were
single.
mature heads. I mean, Mahmudullah is one of the most calmest
Yeah, and
influences.
Mushfiqur and Mahmudullah are supposed to be two of the like senior most batsmen after Shakib, and they played those kind of shots. And Hardik did not even bowl a great over. He bowled absolutely blank balls until the last ball. And any mature batsman worth his salt would have got the 2 runs required. So I think that just showed how small time Bangladesh are. Like even if they have talented players, even if they are making strides in world cricket, that there's just that mentality factor that'll always hold them back. And we saw that in the years to come as well, that they lost another close match in the 2018 Nidahas Trophy. Then in the Asia Cup, in the last ball, they lost Nidahas Trophy on the last ball. Like against India, they've always had those kind of chokes. So I think, like even if they have talent, they just need that, solid mentality, that sometimes glory is not the way to succeed. Sometimes you just need a sensible head, and a win with a single knocked around to mid off is the same as the win with the six into the stands. So that just showed for me how Bangladesh are not the real deal as many people think, and we've seen that in the years to come after that they've continued in that frame of mind.
Yeah, India needed to win this, by the way, to
Yeah, it was a
move
virtual
on.
knockout.
It was
Bangladesh
a
would
knockout.
probably have qualified if they won
Yeah,
instead.
because of the loss that we had against New Zealand. So we would have been out. But this also sort of told us the shortcomings that we had. This was peak India's batting, trying to play ODI cricket in T20 cricket back then. Piyush, few words about that historic win, brother.
मेरे लिए तो मतलब वन ऑफ द मोस्ट आइकॉनिक मोमेंट ऑफ माय लाइफ मतलब बोल सकते हैं मतलब
Life.
ऐसा भी always been a dream to watch a World Cup match मतलब बैंगलोर में and I was lucky enough to get tickets. People were telling India Bangladesh one sided match क्या जा रहा है, but you know the World Cup feeling hits differently. The mood I can like still remember the mood when the national anthem happened at the start. Like I've never felt anything like that. So I had watched 2011, but not a final or something. But 2016 was a different vibe when team was at their peak and people were excited. तो मतलब मूवमेंट तो बहुत अच्छा था और फटी पड़ी थी क्योंकि इंडिया के लिए वर्चुअल नॉकआउट मैच बोल सकते हैं आप और इंडिया ऑलमोस्ट बॉटल्ड इट आउट बिकॉज दे डिडंट बैट वेल मेकिंग 146 odd inch enough for me where like we have seen in IPL people are scoring 200 but then then it's Bangladesh in the end. So I remember like people were walking out in the last over when Mushfiqur hit a four. Like people generally walked out like it was needed 2 रन चाहिए था 3 बॉल में और मेरे स्टैंड के आजू बाजू में देख रहा हूँ आधे लोग नीचे ऑलरेडी चले गए हैं and then some magic happened and then somehow Bangladesh bottled it. I am like the joy of that day was like too good and like for me it peaked but we know that we had a long way to go to live that World Cup. Eventually we failed to do that due to our own shortcoming, but I think that match was one of my all-time favorite matches because I was there at the stadium and I still remember like each and every ball of that match almost last over. So it felt good that India won in the end, but eventually it felt said that we couldn't win a World Cup at our home. But there was a lot of good things that we learned, and it was a needed defeat. Like sometimes you learn from a defeat, and hopefully that we don't again make those same mistakes in selecting a squad. But I think BCCI is on the right way of how they are having a Sri Lanka tour as well now before the World Cup, and we'll have few more T20 series and obviously the inclusion of a different young breed in the England series as well. So that shows that new BCCI selectors have learned their mistakes of what we have done in the past and don't want to repeat the same mistake. So hopefully, I'm expecting a good performance from India team this time around, and hopefully we don't bottle it due to the selection issue like we did in 2019 as well. So let's see.
Interesting. So that, do you want to add something before we move on?
Yeah, just another angle. I think one of our major shortcomings was our batting that showed that game. That in that World Cup, that we usually got off to slow starts. Or if you see, they had like Bangladesh bowling at players like Mustafizur and Mortaza. They didn't have pace on the ball, but they had like variation like cutters, which I think that team struggled against because I think players like Rohit, Kohli, and Raina at that time they lacked pace on the bat, right? If there was pace, they would like smack the ball. But I think they struggled against those cutters. And one of the like even in that Bangladesh game, we were like 115 and 17 overs. In last 3 years, we hit like 30 because like Jadeja and
Jadeja
Hardik
made
aake
some
cameo
quick
khele.
runs. Yeah.
Yeah, Jadeja and Hardik aake cameo khele. But I think these games you'll always remember, right? Because I love games where like last over where you get someone who doesn't usually bowl in depth, and he comes and gets that ball for you. I agree Hardik's over wasn't one of the best, but I think at that time, such a young bowler given such a big responsibility in a virtual knockout, I think he handled himself pretty well. I think even in Asia Cup, there was a match where I think Vijay Shankar bowled the last over for kuch IVW मिला था. Some match I think. I think games like that, you just remember. So I think obviously
And against Australia in one of the ODIs in that 3-2 series, Vijay Shankar bowled last over and took 2 wickets.
yeah. Well, Mitchell Marsh, I think he took Mitchell Marsh, but yeah, I think those like games like obviously Bangladesh was kind of stupid, but like I think India got that momentum from that knockout to go on till the semis were obviously.
Yeah, I felt
we were short on.
when we won that this was a case of yes, this will happen. We are winning games that we are not supposed to win. Anyway, while this was happening,
Those games that they are not supposed to lose.
Anyway, while this was happening here, New Zealand had won all their group games. They'd beaten India, Australia, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. India had won 3 and lost 1. Australia had won 2, lost 2. Pakistan and Bangladesh were knocked out from the group. And in the other group, meanwhile, West Indies and England showed a new side to themselves in this World Cup. 1 year after their massive disaster in the 2015 World Cup, where they were eliminated to Bangladesh in the group stage, England was showing a different side. They'd lost their opening game. They got 180 and West Indies chased down because of Chris Gale's 100. Then they had a huge total to chase at Wankhede against South Africa. And that was the match where I was like, wow, this is something different. England chased down, I think, I don't know how much was 240,
228, 228, 229,
228. Joe
229.
Root,
fairly comfortably as well.
Yeah.
वही.
people like
They were
Joe
like
Root.
they were 80 for not in 6 overs or something, like in the chase.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I think that showed the blueprint to the playing countries on how to approach T20, of how England's blueprint for the was cricket, and their overall cricket, I would say, has been like immense of how they have managed their players. You might find the advantage or disadvantage, but they have showed the intent, is what I'm saying, like which other countries didn't show at that time during a T20 or a 50 over World Cup. So I think England is one of those countries who changed the dynamics and showed the blueprint to other countries, is what I feel. And like now people in other countries, other boards are realizing on how important is to show that intent, you might say. But
Yeah.
I think England
exactly.
has been pretty much good from 2016 onwards on how they have approached the game with the players with the right intent.
Yeah, if you look at the strike rates of English batsmen in that game, Jason Roy 268, he got 43 runs at that strike rate. Joe Root came in at 4, got 83 at 188. I think that's when I realized, wow, why is Joe Root batting like this? And that was sort of the start of what England went on to do later on. So yeah, England and West Indies were the two teams that were doing well from the other group, and they had qualified along with South Africa. So these were the I think that was a situation, and we moved on to the quarterfinals where India played Australia.
Virtual quarterfinal.
Virtual quarterfinal.
Huh.
Last
Well,
group
two
stage.
teams progress.
Virtual quarterfinal, yeah. So India played Australia. Australia
Why
batted
not?
first, got 160. Glenn Maxwell did well towards the end, and at one stage it was looking like, oh, this has turned into what should have been a fairly regular run chase, because it was at Mohali, and Mohali is pretty okay for chasing teams, get a lot of twos, and it's generally okay with chasing with dew and all. But well, it didn't turn out like that. The game was very complicated, and then Virat Kohli played one of his best, I'm pretty sure, where he got 82 of 51. It was at a stage where we needed 2 runs a ball, and he pretty much did it single-handedly. And we were through to the semi-finals. We'd beaten Australia along with New Zealand. We were through, and at that time I remember Gautam Gambhir used to had said that if you beat Australia, you win the World Cup, and I was very, very hopeful once we had done that. So let's talk about that game. Let's start with Piyush this time.
So India-Australia virtual quarterfinal, like 2000, it got like repeat of 2011 World Cup on how we defeated them. And I was confident. I was not that confident because last game was against Bangladesh where we struggled. And then, but the only difference was we were chasing, and Virat Kohli was probably batting at his utmost peak, even in T20s as well. I think that was the season in IPL when he
Yeah, 500.
Yeah, 973.
Yeah, so I think that was the golden period of Virat Kohli's supremacy of as a limited over batsman, which has decreased a lot from that time till now. But that was like pure genius masterclass from Virat Kohli. I remember watching that match in hostel during my college days, and it was so good to see Virat chasing that. He made it look, at a time it felt like India will lose it, but then from a difficult situation, at the end it was a very easy chase. So if you chase anything with 1 or 1.5 overs left, he made it look easy, and that was not that easy against a good Australian bowling. So eventually it gave everyone a lot of hope that at Wankhede we can easily defeat West Indies, because we are defeating one of the most strongest side in the competition. But
What?
that game was
Hmm.
really good with Virat Kohli, but it had other flaws around our batting, because in
Of
that
course it
tournament,
had. Yeah.
apart from Virat, I don't think so anyone else clicked in the batting department. So
Right.
Dhawan, be it Rohit, be it UV, be it Raina, be it Dhoni,
Yeah.
no one clicked in that World Cup as far as I remember, and like no major contributions apart from Virat Kohli is what I feel. So we had that thing on your mind, like without Virat Kohli batting, it was like previous day that Sachin out हो गया तो India team खत्म, वैसा वाली feel आ रही थी. So that had shortcomings, but then to defeat Australia is very special. Any time, then to knock them out of World Cup is always special. So
Yeah.
it felt
Right.
good. Like it was a good match, and I think it was one of the best individual innings we have ever seen in the entire World Cup history of T20. You can say.
Yeah. So that
I
was that
think
Virat Kohli's peak. So that Trian.
Yeah, I think like as a T20 batsman, that was by far his peak, and I think that, as far as I can remember, was his best T20 innings ever. If you consider the kind of opposition, the kind of occasion that was, and the kind of ease he chased it with, I think his peak as a T20 one day and test batsman came in 2018, a couple of years after, but I think 973 runs man of the tournament in the World T20. I don't think you can argue with that. That was by far his peak in the World T20. I think like, so we've talked a lot. Piyush talked about a lot about the Indian perspective. So I'll just talk a little bit about the Australian perspective as well. I
Yeah.
think some of the decisions Australia made in that tournament were really baffling. Like I remember that most of those games they had batted David Warner, an IPL legend who's obviously ruled the roost throughout in Indian conditions. He was batting at number 4 most of those games. He batted number 3 in that game because the
Yeah.
openers got a good start. He was batting at number 4. Can you imagine? Probably the best IPL batsman in IPL history batting at number 4 when he's used to opening. I think that was because Usman Khawaja had a great BBL and he won Sydney Thunder a BBL that year, and they just got caught up in that hype. And as we have seen in the years after कि BBL का
BBL
hype
fraud.
नहीं चलता इंडिया में, BBL वाले लोग नहीं चलते इंडिया में. It's a whole different ball
Darcy
game.
shot.
Jai Richardson.
Christine, Dan Christian
Richardson.
और कितने line
Meredith.
लगी है. Ben
Correct.
Dunk and all those
Line
guys.
well.
So Australia got a little bit caught up in that BBL hype कि Khawaja ने BBL जिताया तो we'll open with him instead of Warner. And somebody like Shane Watson was batting at number 6, another bona fide
exactly.
IPL legend, 2-time MVP. If you're like, I think that their decisions were really puzzling, and I think they even got a little unlucky in that match that Steve Smith got given out caught behind. He actually did not edge the ball, and he got given caught behind. Could have been, a 10-20 run difference if he got to bat. I remember because I had a captain in my fantasy team that time. But yeah, I think they got unlucky, but some of their decisions were really baffling. Warner not opening, Watson not opening. I can get one of them not opening because Finch is probably not best when Finch is also probably best when he's not opening, but I think Khawaja was probably an odd fit based on BBL hype, and they should have stuck with the proven performers in Indian conditions that Watson and Warner already proved them be. And then like already we've said enough about the Kohli and Dhoni masterclass. I remember them knocking Faulkner around for twos and chasing it so effortlessly.
Yeah.
Even like I think it was like 10, 11 and over at the time, and they were just doing it in doubles, not even hitting their boundaries. That's what I was talking about with Bangladesh, that they are a small time team. They would have probably tried to hit 4s and 6s at that time and gotten all out and lost by like 30 runs. But that's when you saw like the class and the experience of Kohli and Dhoni, that they did it with such ease, just taking singles and doubles. And like that's what made the innings even greater. Kohli did not hit shots in anger. Kohli did not slog. He just took doubles and singles and did it like it was like he was playing Don Bradman cricket on easy mode.
So that Jen, your one takeaway from that game. I think Siddharth is stuck. Are you there?
No, yeah.
Your one takeaway from that game, and then we'll move on to our final part of the episode.
I think definitely it was just Kohli's game. I remember watching the game and I remember comparing it to 2014 when he hit South African semis single-handedly, where he hit like 70 shot. I think that was a very, very similar game, how he single-handedly won us the game. I think I still remember after the game how he just hit his knees in 2016 wala. वो जो एक moment था. I think that'll always like, stick with me because
I think
I've seen that inning so many.
Sachin was in the stadium in 2016, and I think he bowed down to him, and something like that happened at that time. And everyone
Like I've
was
seen that
down
match.
to him at home too.
Like Sony 10, Star Sports, Facebook Cup highlights आते रहते like that match के. So I think that match is going to be really relevant. It was Virat Kohli's match. I mean, literally his match. Like, for sure.
Just sad that it didn't transfer into what we're going to talk about next. So England faced New Zealand in the first semi-final. New Zealand were unbeaten. They'd won 4 out of 4. But England got past them, just like they have done so often in recent history. Once again, they chased down. It was a 160-ish chase, pretty easy. Jason Roy came in, broke the chase right from the beginning. And England were through to the final in Kolkata, whereas India faced West Indies, who we felt at that time were going to be easy work. We faced them at Wankhede. Batted first, things were going all right for us. Rohit Sharma got 43 of 31. Big question mark on the strike rate. Even bigger question mark was on Ajinkya Rahane. Shikhar Dhawan was dropped. Rahane came in 40 from 35 balls at a flat track in Wankhede.
I don't think that's a question mark. I think that was a full stop on India's tournament hopes.
Two boundaries
Statement.
in 35 deliveries that he played. So Virat Kohli came in, got 89 of 47 and took us to 192, which should have been well par 200, well beyond 200 in my opinion. We were at least 20 runs short because of how Rohit and Rahane batted at the top.
And Rohit was decent, I believe. He had some 44 of 31.
Rohit, I would say was slightly below.
He was 43. He was 43.
140 strike rate is good. 140 strike rate is decent, I believe.
It's not decent when the other guy is going at 100. That's the problem.
The thing is, the thing is generally what happens with Rohit is once he gets settled. But the thing was, he didn't get any help from the other side. Rahane was playing too slow, and then due to that, whatever, he lost his wicket as well. So the thing is, with the brain fade moment happened the moment we got Rahane to open when he has not opened. So we should have stuck with Dhawan at least. Like, I don't see a player like Rahane coming in when you're batting first at Wankhede, where because you don't know what is happening on the toss, and you always know it's a flat wicket. And if you lose the toss, you have to ball with the dew. So if you're batting first at Wankhede, so you need to get above 200 because we were
I think the approach was totally wrong. In any case, we did get to 192 because of Virat Kohli once again. 192, playing so well. And then our bowling started. We got rid of Gale and Samuels early on, so West Indies were 2 down. And then
I thought the game was over when Bumrah picked Gale. Everybody thought the game was over there when he got
we were planning for the finals, but then Lyndon Simmons came out at number 4. He was caught off a no ball, dropped. I don't know what all happened, but he made 82. Johnston Charles.
That's what IPL experience does for you.
And then when finally we did get them out and it felt like there was a chance, in walked Andre Russell, made 43 of 20. I remember that one shot of Jadeja straight down the ground, and seeing like that, it was absolute disrespect on the face of Russell that you're not worth my time right now. I'm going to just finish this off. Russell finished it off. Again, big problems with the amount of runs that we got, but that was where the sort of bottling tendency of India in big games started coming to the fore. We'd lost the final of the 2014 T20 World Cup before that, but we'd won the Champions Trophy. So that was probably the second.
And absolutely smacked in 2015.
Yeah. 2015
I
तो
think,
we lost
yeah.
I
comfortably
don't
and we
think
lost
we
to
were
a
reasonably expecting anything more than
yeah, and we
that,
lost to a
मतलब
very
मेरे को
much better
I
team.
never felt
2015.
anything with 2015 मतलब सेमीफाइनल तक पहुंच गए थे वही बड़ी बात थी क्योंकि
Exactly.
मैं
and it was an
really
unstoppable team. 2016, I think we should have been safe.
Exactly. So
I think, yeah.
let's talk about that before we wrap up this episode. What can we do now? We have become big occasion bottlers. Sadly, we've lost the 2014 T20 World Cup final. We've lost the 2015 semi-final, 2016 semi-final, 2019 semi-final,
17 final.
2017 Champions Trophy final. So we have become big occasion bottlers after doing well in the group stage. How can we stop that in the 2020 World Cup? And that's how we'll close this podcast.
I think, yeah, I think very similar in 2019 ODI World Cup, we had a batting collapse, 5-4-3, and then like everything went haywire. And in the bowling department, I think in 2016 T20 World Cup, throughout the group stage, every single match, right, a spinners especially, they were doing so good, right? I think they were high on confidence. We were restricting everything to 160, 170, and suddenly out of nowhere, seeing Simmons smash Jadeja, smash Ashwin, smash Hardik, I think just been like in the
Got
middle,
him
I
out
think
on
they,
top
yeah,
as well.
Yeah.
I think they just didn't know what to do in the middle overs, right? I think that happens because like just on such a high out of nowhere, like this happens, this match comes, right?
I think
Very
what
similar.
sometimes happens is, just to add to what you're saying, and then you can continue, is in the group stage matches we are not under as much pressure as we are in the
Exactly.
knockout games, and I've seen us that happen to us quite a lot. That our best bowlers are someone takes them on, Fakar Zaman in the Champions Trophy, Andre Russell, Lennon Simmons in this game. Someone takes them on and we just choke. So yeah, continue with that. Sorry.
No, yeah, I was just saying I was surprised that Raina didn't get to bowl. You know, Raina, whenever he bowled in the group stage, even though if he bowled one over, he always took a wicket, right? He always broke the partnership. I think obviously they had high hope from Jadeja कि Jadeja का एक और over दूंगा, wicket आएगा. फिर I think Hardik also they carried, but I think it was just the bowling, you know, disaster class because the bowling just didn't know what to do, how to execute. No one didn't expect this, right? Like I think a bit of overconfidence, you know, I won't deny. But I think, yeah, I think the mentality needs to improve from it. I think IPL has helped a lot for a guy like Surya Kumar Yadav. You know, he's won with MI for 2-3
We
years
had
now.
IPL
So,
at that time as well, man. I mean,
no, I'm just saying,
everyone
I'm just comparing it with
was
like now side, like current side. I'm
IPL
comparing it with
stars.
current side, right?
And
I'm
IPL was
comparing it to
not at this level at that time. It's been 5 years.
Yeah,
but
I
I'm
feel
comparing it.
that.
I'm
Okay.
comparing it to this side. I think this side has much more. I wouldn't say experience or mentality monsters because Surya Kumar Yadav IPL final is a big thing. You know, winning you have to become like. I think mentality wise, I think that's a big thing. I think bottling Champions Trophy, ODI World Cup, T20 World Cup. I think the side also internally, I think they have become mental monsters themselves. I think
Bully ended up bottling the
yeah,
IPL final also the same year.
like we haven't bottled close games. We have bottled games like where we have just failed in a department. You know, like it's not like we have actually done well and then lost the game. We have absolutely failed in a department and then bottled the
15 bad
semis.
minutes of
If you look
cricket
at it,
on
Why?
repeat.
It's been 45 matches bit of cricket. Like if you look at the ODI World Cup, it was horrendous. T20 horrendous. Champions Trophy में the first things में game हार गए थे. So like yeah, I think
Yeah.
we just need to like buckle up.
Yeah.
Piyush,
जो डिफरेंट रहेगा इस बार वो है कि अब वी आर नॉट अ वन मैन टीम मतलब जो लास्ट ऑस्ट्रेलिया टेस्ट सीरीज देखे अपन लोग और वो देखे मतलब गाय लाइक वॉशिंगटन सुंदर who hasn't had any international cricket but he still performed like I feel test series down under is same level pressure as of a World Cup match is what I feel.
I'll disagree. World Cup knockout is different. I think.
No, but the thing is, test cricket needs you more mental. It needs you to be more mentally strong because it's not a one-day cricket. So you have to be mentally strong for a longer period of time, and you have to play under a lot of pressure against those Australian tracks. So I think the new breed which is coming in the Indian cricket, they are not afraid or they are not scared of anything, and they are the match winners on their own. मतलब पहले जैसा था कि we are dependent on suppose someone like a Yuvraj or someone like Virat or someone like Dhoni, but अब मेरे को वैसा डिपेंडेंस नहीं लगता. अगर रोहित और कोहली भी फेल होते हैं या रोहित कोहली और धवन भी फेल होते हैं तो मतलब वी कैन नॉट रूल आउट इंडिया बैटिंग. मतलब इतना हर जन क्योंकि अभी वो अपने ऊपर जिम्मेदारी लेके खेल रहा है. मतलब आई एम नॉट बिफोर इफ विराट कोहली रोहित शर्मा, युवराज सिंह और रैना अगर टॉप 4 अपने थे, उन लोग आउट हो गए तो मेरे को लगेगा मैच खत्म, अब कोई चांस नहीं है. पर अभी मेरे को ऐसा नहीं लगेगा, बिकॉज players like maybe if Surya plays, we have Surya, we have Pant, we have Jadeja, और हर
और ये लोग मुंबई इंडियंस के लिए भी सेम करते हैं. मुंबई इंडियंस whenever they are 3-4 down, they don't give up. Like वो मैच छोड़ नहीं देते. They still come back. Like you know that whenever the top 4 fails is when the bottom 3 rises, and vice versa. Like they will always rise when the others fail. Like I think in qualifier 1 last year versus Delhi, they were 3 down for not much, and then Pollard, Hardik, and Kishan all came to the party. तो वैसा एक वो वाला attitude चाहिए मुंबई इंडियंस वाला कि we will always rise. The bottom order always rises when the top order fails, and vice versa.
पर मेरे को लग रहा है वही नए ब्रीड में वही एक आ गया है. और मेरे को इतना मतलब इस बार आई एम होपिंग दैट बीसीसीआई डोंट, our selector committee don't fuck up the selection again. मतलब क्योंकि अपन लोग 2019 वर्ल्ड कप probably you can say कैप्टन तो चेंज का टॉपिक डिफरेंट है, बट
I'm saying and captain doesn't screw up the team selection.
हाँ, but I would say that just don't be emotional in picking the players, like कि हाँ पहले अच्छा खेला है 10 साल पहले या 2 साल पहले. Just go with the recent form and what you feel will help you win the T20 World Cup. So it's time to think practical and not be emotional about selecting few players. If they have not done good, they are not good enough to be selected. So
does Dhawan get selected ahead of Rohit then?
But Rohit,
I think that's a call based on recent form, as good as it can.
Rohit has been,
I think, yeah,
are one of the best.
Yeah, one of the best. Not in that great form. Anyway, we'll wrap this up now. Obviously, in the final, we all remember the name Carlos Brathwaite. England had it won. I think 24 not needed, 18 not needed.
23, 24, yeah.
23, 24 needed on the last over. Ben Stokes was
19.
Ben Stokes was bowling.
Took 2 wickets.
England had won. We felt England had won. Joe Root had a 50 in that game, I remember, on a tough wicket.
And 2 wickets.
And then Brathwaite came in. I don't know, 4 sixes of 4 balls.
And then he never did anything relevant.
I think such an irrelevant cricketer. He's West Indies Vijay Shankar, and because of that one match, life ban gayi. मतलब
of the World Cup. और 5 crore कमाए. दिल्ली ने लिया, कोलकाता ने लिया.
दिल्ली को इतने मैचेस हराए हैं उसने. दिल्ली को इतने मैचेस हराए हैं.
इस बार भी किसी टीम ने लिया उसको. मतलब he gets it as.
But Brathwaite, he had one good innings in 2019 World Cup as well against New Zealand.
Anyway, what we're going to talk about is not Carlos Brathwaite. We're going to talk about Ben Stokes, who had a dismal time, but great work to him to come back from that, and now look where he is. Won aside the World Cup, probably one of the most extraordinary individual performances in the Ashes then. And now he's pretty much the best all-round cricketer in the world. So I think, yeah, pretty much that's what we have for you in this episode. Do let us know if you liked it in the comments. If you have anything that you want to discuss with us, do let us know. And hopefully,
like, share, subscribe.
Yeah, obviously, like, share, subscribe. But before that, one word from each of you guys. Who do you think is winning the 2020 World Cup? Siddharth Rayan?
2021.
Australia.
Piyush?
भाई मैं तो हमेशा एक ही नाम लूंगा.
Mumbai Indians.
India always first.
Siddharth?
Yeah, I think I'll go emotion. I'll go India.
I'll go England. Okay. Anyway, so that is what we have for you. We will be back with our next episode. Obviously, ज़्यादा cricket अभी हो नहीं रहा है, so we'll have to revisit old World Cups, revisit old times, great matches. So we have all this in store. Do let us know what do you want us to discuss, and like and share and subscribe wherever you are.
Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying safe.
All of you are safe. So that's it. Does anyone of you have any parting words?
Yes.
Change captain. Started with changing captain, ending with changing captain.
Not just changing captain, dropping the captain completely from the 11. We're making calls on T20 form.
Chalo, guys. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're safe and hope you had a good time watching this. Bye bye.